Deep inside a ruined temple on the planet Kelthris, old dust floated in the air as a scholar named Vero moved carefully between cracked pillars and half-buried stone carvings. He was not looking for treasure or weapons. He was looking for answers. Ancient writings on the wall spoke of a final war that would decide the fate of all life in the galaxy. The words were old, older than any empire. No one knew who wrote them. Many thought they were just legends. But today, Vero found something strange. A cube made of black metal, cold to the touch, with symbols glowing softly on its sides. When he placed his hand on it, the cube came to life. It showed him visions, stars burning, planets crumbling, and a shadow moving across the galaxy. Then it showed him something he could not explain. A tall figure standing on a rocky world staring at the sky. The figure was human, Viro returned. To the galactic archives with the cube, scientists and historians were confused. The language on the cube was human, but far older than any human records. How could that be? Humans were a young species, barely known in the wider galaxy. They came from a planet called Earth, known as a death world because of its harsh weather, wild animals, and strong gravity. Most species stayed away from such worlds. Still, humans had begun to explore space. They had colonies, ships, and their own council. But no one saw them as a threat. They were strange, yes, fast learners, stubborn and fearless, but not dangerous. Not yet. But the words on the cube changed everything. Said, when fire walks among stars, the war will begin. And right after that discovery, something happened that made the whole galaxy pay attention. A human ship appeared near the galactic core. It wasn't a warship. It was a science vessel, small and slow. But its design didn't match any known human blueprint. It had symbols on its hull symbols that matched the ones on the cube. And the ship's crew said they found an old station drifting in deep space, full of tech they couldn't understand. Tech that activated when they touched it. They weren't the only ones. Over the next few weeks, other human ships began finding similar old places, stations, satellites, broken ships. Each one seemed to recognize them. Each one woke up when touched by human hands. Alien leaders started to worry. The stories from the cube were spreading fast. Some believed the final war was just a myth. Others began to wonder if humans were somehow connected to the prophecy. And many didn't like the idea of humans unlocking ancient power. A special meeting of the Galactic Council was called. The leaders of the largest empires, including the Orcs Dominion, the Jalen Federation, and the Lorvani Enclave, sat in a round hall. The human ambassador, a calm woman named Claire, stood before them. "We don't know why these stations are responding to us," Claire said. "We only want to learn more. We mean no harm." "But the signs are clear," said Grand Elder Zuru. "Of the Sorix, your people match the prophecy. Born from a death world, spreading fire across the stars, this is not a good sign," Claire replied. "Or maybe it means something else. Maybe we're not the danger. Maybe we're the warning." The room went silent. No one knew how to answer that. Outside the council, fear spread faster. Ships began shadowing human freighters. Borders were tightened. And then, one incident changed everything. A Jalen patrol ship tried to stop a human cargo vessel near the Nabari corridor. The patrol ordered the humans to power down their ship. The humans refused. No weapons were fired. Yet within minutes, both the patrol ship and its 2 escorts vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. No explosion, no signal. Silence. Panic spread. Some believed the humans used a secret weapon. Others thought they awakened something ancient. Either way, everyone understood one thing now. The prophecy was not just a story anymore. In hidden rooms, empires began to build their fleets. In quiet labs, scientists tried to decode the cube. On every channel, people asked the same question. What does the prophecy really mean? And far away on Earth, humans were silent. Their leaders did not speak. Their ships did not move in anger. But satellites were being launched. Old programs were being restarted. Deep underground, a machine that hadn't moved in thousands of years began to hum again. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The galaxy couldn't stop talking about humans. In every station, market, and council room, their name was whispered. Before, they were seen as newcomers, tough but friendly, smart but strange. Now, they were something else. Some called them the Chosen Ones, others the Firebringers. But no one could ignore them anymore. Since the ancient cube had awakened, more signs had appeared. Glowing symbols lit up on old ruins, only when a human stood near. Locked vaults opened with just a touch. Once dead machines started to hum again, all reacting to humans. No other species triggered anything. It was as if the galaxy itself had been waiting for them. A few scientists from the Lorvani Enclave traveled to Earth, hoping to study the human connection to these ancient artifacts. They were greeted kindly, but what they found was unsettling. Deep in the mountains of Alaska, hidden behind layers of rock, they discovered a sealed door covered in the same symbols found on the cube. When a human researcher stepped close, the door slid open with a quiet hiss. Behind it was a chamber filled with strange machines and data logs written in a forgotten language. But the face drawn on the wall was clearly human. News of this discovery reached the Galactic Council. Fear turned into division. Some empires, like the Orcs and the Meldar Alliance, wanted to restrict human travel. They feared what else might wake up. Others, like the Valari Union, believed the humans were part of the galaxy's survival plan. Then came the moment no one expected. A small human freighter named Gray Horizon was making a normal supply run through the Valen corridor. This route passed close to restricted Lorvani space. A battleship from the Lorvani Navy blocked the path and demanded the human ship turn around. The humans refused, saying they were in legal space. The Lorvani opened fire with a warning shot. What happened? Next shocked everyone. Gray Horizon did not fight back. Instead, the ship glowed softly and disappeared from all scanners. 1 second it was there, the next, gone. The Lorvani battleship and the 2 cruisers nearby also vanished without a trace. A deep silence spread across the galaxy. A week later, a signal came through. It was from Gray Horizon. The ship had reappeared near a neutral trade station. Its crew was confused but unharmed. They said they didn't even know anything had happened. We felt a small pulse, the captain said, and suddenly we were somewhere else. The council was now fully divided. To some, this proved that humans had awakened old power maybe too much. To others, it meant the prophecy was real, and humans were the key to stopping something worse. The original prophecy, written on the cube, had many lines. Most were still unclear, but 2 stood out. They shall not seek war, but war shall find them. Born of fire, they will light the way through shadow. The galaxy was beginning to wonder what shadow was coming. Meanwhile, on Earth, something strange was happening. Human government stayed quiet in public, but underground, many secret labs were now active. A massive object, hidden beneath the oceans for centuries, was rising slowly. It wasn't a submarine. It was a ship ancient and massive, with no known builder. Human scientists believed it was buried there long before their modern history even began. Some even believed it came from a lost age, a time no one remembered. Many humans didn't know what was happening. To them, life went on as normal. But a few leaders knew the truth. Long ago, their people had touched the stars, and something out there had nearly ended everything. Now it was returning, back in space. More signs appeared. In a forgotten system near the edge of the galaxy, a beacon turned on for the first time in a million years. It sent out a single message: the gate is weakening. No one knew what it meant, except maybe the humans. At the next council meeting, Claire, the human ambassador, stood again before the great chamber. Her voice was steady, but there was a quiet sadness in her eyes. "We don't want fear," she said. "We want to help. But we can't ignore what's happening. These things are waking up because we're here. That can't be an accident." "And if the prophecy is true," asked Elder Juru, "then who is the enemy?" Claire looked around the room. "I don't know. But something is coming. And we're the only ones the ancient machines seem to trust." No one had an answer, but everyone felt it, the change in the stars. quiet before the storm. And somewhere beyond the edge of known space, in the cold, dark void, something opened its eyes. The stars were no longer peaceful. In Sector X-99, strange dark shape drifted out of a dead zone of space ant area with no life, no light, and no known movement for millions of years. The first to detect it was a Valari scout ship. They sent a simple probe toward the object. The moment the probe came close, it vanished. No explosion, no signal. Gone. Within hours, 5 more ships from different empires reported the same thing. Something old was moving, something that did not belong. To any species still alive, the Galactic Council gathered again, this time with more urgency. Fear filled the air. Scientists shared images of the strange object. It was black, rough, shaped like a shard of broken rock, yet it moved like a ship, its trail left behind dead signals, as if it drained energy from everything nearby. This is not human, Elder Zuru said. But the prophecy warned of the shadow. Ambassador Claire remained silent for a moment. Then she spoke softly. This is what the machines were preparing us for. While the council argued, humanity acted. On a hidden base, orbiting Earth's moon, a group of human engineers and soldiers gathered around a massive ship. It was not built by humans, but restored by them. The ship was shaped like a wide-winged spear. Its surface was marked with old symbols, the same ones found on the prophecy cube. The ship had no name in any language, so humans gave it one. Lightbringer. The ship had been sleeping for a long time under the ocean. But now it was awake, and its systems were responding to human commands. Captain Alina Hart, chosen to lead the mission, stood on the bridge. She looked at the control panel. The buttons were strange, the text foreign, yet her hand moved with ease. It was like something inside her remembered. The mission was simple. Fly Lightbringer to the Dark Zone. Observe the strange object. Turn with answers. The ship launched in silence, faster than anything ever built by human hands. And within minutes, it was gone from scanners, hidden by its own ancient technology. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, strange events increased. Entire moons lost power. Old satellites began to hum and transmit signals no one could understand. Stars flickered unnaturally. Some species began evacuating colonies near the dead zones. And then Captain Alina sent her first message. We found it. The object is not a ship. It's a gate. The council demanded more information, but the message was short. The gate is opening. We're trying to slow it down. But it was too late. From the black gate, something emerged. It wasn't a ship. It was more like a cloud of moving shadows that twisted through space faster than any ship. Wherever they passed, light faded. Communication died. Machines stopped working. A Orcs fleet tried to block them. All ships were lost within 10 minutes. The council was silent. Ambassador Claire stood again. This is it. The final war is not between us. It's against them. And only we humans can stop it. Some still doubted her. Others wanted to surrender or hide, but the Valari elder, for the first time, stood beside Claire. We will join them, she said, because it's clear now. It's prophecy. It is not a warning about humans. It is a call to stand behind them. As chaos spread across nearby systems, human fleets began to move. They weren't large fleets, but every ship carried tech that had been awakened in the past weeks, shields powered by unknown energy. Engines that bent space, and weapons that had no name. And above Earth, Lightbringer returned. It was damaged. Its hull was cracked. But it brought something back, a small piece of the enemy. A black shard, sealed in energy. Scientists scanned it. It wasn't metal or stone. It was alive and afraid. It pulsed with a strange rhythm like a heartbeat. Or a warning, the shard tried to break free, but human machines held it in place. Deep inside, the shard spoke, but not with words. It showed visions. A galaxy burning, species fading, and only one shape standing tall at the end, a human silhouette bathed in light. It fears us, Alina said, not because of our strength, but because of what we remember, what we were. From that moment, No empire doubted the prophecy anymore. The final war had started, and now the galaxy knew who the real enemy was. The galaxy was no longer divided. Fear had done what diplomacy never could, brought the species together. The shadow creatures from the Black Gate had already consumed 4 systems. They left behind silence, darkness, and cold ruins. Could stop them. It's nothing, except maybe the humans. The shard recovered by Captain. Lena was now under study in a secure human lab floating above Jupiter. It never spoke, yet it responded to presence. When a human touched the energy barrier around it, the shard pulsed slowly, as if remembering. When aliens touched it, it thrashed wildly, almost like it was in pain. Scientists from many species were there working together. They had one goal: understand what this enemy was. A breakthrough came when a young human technician ran. A deep scan using old code recovered from one of the ancient stations. The shard responded. It sent out a message, not in words, but images flashes. Of an ancient war, one that happened long before recorded history. In the images, humans fought side by side with other powerful beings, now extinct. They stood against the shadows. The battles were terrible. Stars went dark. Whole planets were swallowed. The final image showed the last few human warriors sealing something behind a gate, using machines powered by a special kind of light. It was not just technology, it was memory, sacrifice, and unity. Then everything went black. This was not a warning to fear humans. It was a memory left behind so that if the shadows returned, the galaxy would know who could stop them. The Council watched the recording in silence. Elder Zuru, once a strong voice against the humans, finally spoke. They are not the enemy. They are the key. On Earth, preparations began. Old sites once believed to be ruins were now known to be part of a forgotten defense system. Humans worked with aliens to reactivate them. Deep under the Pacific Ocean, a massive power core came to life. Its energy reached the sky, forming a shield around the planet. Other species offered their ships, troops, and resources. For the first time in history, a joint fleet was formed. But the lead ship was human, the Lightbringer, now fully repaired. And upgraded with new systems activated by the shard's energy, Captain Elena stood on its bridge, now joined by commanders from 5 different species. They all looked to her, ready to follow. We don't fight for Earth, Elena said. We fight for the stars. We fight so there's a future for all of us. The fleet jumped together, toward the edge of the dead zone, where the Black Gate now pulsed with strange energy. Shadow creatures sensed them. They came like a wave, silent, endless, cold. The battle began. The joint fleet used every known strategy. Lasers, plasma missiles, they slowed the creatures, but didn't stop. Ships were lost, but they kept fighting. Then Lightbringer moved forward. Its weapons didn't fire beams or bullets. Instead, it released bursts of energy that looked like light from the old days, pure and strong. When these blasts hit the shadow creatures, they screamed and dissolved. More, ancient human ships, hidden across the galaxy, began to activate. They came from asteroids, broken moons, even under alien cities. These ships were not built. They were remembered by the galaxy itself. They all responded to humans. Suddenly hope returned, but the gate itself still pulsed. More shadows were coming. It would never end unless they closed the gate. That's when Elena made a choice. Lightbringer moved toward the gate, protected by the rest of the fleet. The closer they got, the harder the creatures attacked. But one by one, the joint ships gave their support, holding the path open. Inside the gate, time and space twisted. Lena saw flashes of the past old Earth, the first spaceflight, the forgotten war, and she saw herself standing in those memories. Not as a new hero, but as part of something ancient. She reached the heart of the gate and triggered the memory dash lock. The gate began to close, not with force, but with light. The same energy that the ancient humans had used. The same energy that had waited for their return, with a final pulse. The gate vanished. The shadows were gone. Silence returned to space. The fleet floated quietly. Then a signal came through. Lena's voice. Gate sealed. We're coming home. After the gate closed, a quiet peace spread across the stars. Systems that had gone dark slowly returned to normal. Communication was restored. The energy pulse that followed the sealing of the gate seemed to clear the nearby space of all remaining shadow creatures. Their presence vanished completely, as if they had never been there. The galaxy was safe for now, but everything had changed. Humans were no longer seen as new travelers of the stars. They were now remembered as something older, something stronger, and something deeply connected to the galaxy's forgotten past. The ancient prophecy, once thought to be just a story, had become history, a story still alive. The Galactic Council called a final meeting, this time not to argue, but to understand. Leaders from every major species came together. Even those who had once feared or distrusted humans sat beside them now. Ambassador Claire stood once again at the center of the chamber. She looked different now, tired, perhaps, but calm. The weight of many truths rested on her shoulders. The prophecy, she said, was not meant to scare, was left behind as a memory, a warning, and a guide. Our ancestors fought the darkness. They gave everything to seal it away. They trusted that one day their message would reach us. And it did. Elder Zuru nodded slowly. We were afraid of you. But in truth, we should have feared what was coming. You stood between us and the shadows, and you did not run. Claire smiled a little. We didn't win because we were better. Won because we remembered, because we stood together. The council passed a new resolution. Humans were no longer just members of the galaxy. They were its guardians. Claire rejected the title. We're not above anyone, she said. We're part of this galaxy now, not just as fighters, but as friends. Meanwhile, Captain Alina and the crew of Lightbringer returned to Earth. They were welcomed as heroes, but they didn't feel like heroes. They had seen things no one else had. They knew this victory came at a great cost, that there were still many questions inside Lightbringer. One room remained sealed. Behind its door was a second shard, one that had not been found in battle, but left behind by the enemy. It did not pulse with anger like the first one. Instead, it glowed softly. Sometimes it flickered as if trying to speak. Scientists studied it carefully. They believed it carried memories not of war, but of warning. It might hold answers about where the shadows came from, or if they were truly gone. Alina visited the chamber often. She would sit near the glass, watching the shard flicker. Sometimes it showed her small, flashy images of stars being born, of ancient humans standing tall, of voices calling across time. One day she whispered to the shard, "Are there more of you?" And the light pulsed once soft, steady, and long. Not a warning, a yes, deep inside. She knew the shadows were not the only danger, but now the galaxy was ready. New ships were being built using human designs mixed with alien technology. Planets that once stayed silent were now sending messages of unity. Schools across the galaxy began teaching the story of the final war, and young ones, both human and alien, grew up hearing the name Lightbringer, not as a weapon, but as a symbol of hope. Earth became a center for learning and peace. Humans opened their old sites to scholars from every species, and in return, they learned about the history of others. Bridges were formed where once there were walls. Viro, the scholar who first found the prophecy cube, returned to Keltheris Temple. He placed the cube back in its resting place, now glowing with quiet energy. He smiled. It was never just about humans, he said. It was about all of us, remembering, rising, standing together. From that day on, the prophecy was no longer spoken with fear. It was remembered with respect. When fire walks among stars, the war will begin. But now, it ended with new words. And from that fire, a light will rise to guide us all. The shadows had come, and the galaxy had answered, with humanity at its heart.